And this is my personal podcast to the American public. Give you a little bit of my background. I did 22 years in the United States Navy. I retired from that. I spent 12 years on 4 different submarines during the Cold War. And I served a combat tour in Vietnam in 1969 to 71. So after that, I retired from the Navy, went to work for Orange County Division of Corrections in Florida, and I retired from them after doing 15 years of service to the public. So I've been around the world. I've seen a lot in this world that has happened. I have a PhD, I have a master's degree, I have an undergraduate degree, so I'm well educated. I keep up with everything that happens around me because I think that's important to me, that I have all the knowledge I need in order to make a reasonable decision. In the next several weeks, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of subjects, different kinds of things that generally irritate everybody else. And as I do this, I want you to remember what I'm going to be telling you when you go to the polls here in November and in 2024. Remember how this has impacted you and the government's policies. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is the price of fuel. And I already talked about diesel fuel. And if you get to a point where they simply stop delivering stuff to us, they say, we can't do this anymore. And you think you have food shortages now, you have not seen anything yet. And that will happen. I predict that will happen within the next 12 months. That they're going to get to a point we can no longer afford the fuel. But what happens is this current administration under Joe Biden seems to think that everybody else is to blame for this except them. You know, it's got nothing to do with cutting off the oil supplies we get from Canada, the oil we get from fracking and other sources. It's got nothing to do with that. It's the oil company's problem. It's the war in Ukraine. And it goes on and on and on. He projects blame on everybody but himself. And all of this is hinged around the fact that he wants to transition this country into electric cars. Well, fundamentally, I have no problem with electric cars. I think they're great. They're pollution free. I have no problem with that. The problem is, where are you going to charge it? Where are you going to charge it? He is going to take millions of charging stations throughout this country so that people can charge their car conveniently. Imagine you're out there driving around the countryside. You're going on a vacation with your family, and your battery's starting to get low, and you're up in the mountains. Where are you going to charge this car? Where are you going to find a place that will provide you the capacity to charge your car? And when you find one, you're in line with everybody else because nobody else would find one either. That's the problem. You cannot transition people's attitudes and beliefs over a period of 4 years. That simply will not happen. They will rebel against you. And that is what we're seeing today. So let's get back to oil prices here for a moment. Gas is currently $5 a gallon in some states. $5 a gallon. Now, imagine if you're an elderly person. You live by yourself and you live on Social Security. Can you afford $5 a gallon? Could they even conceivably afford that? The answer to that is no. Of course not. If you're a middle-income family, you're raising 3 kids, can you afford this? No, we can't. Nobody can afford this unless you're incredibly rich, in which case they don't care anyway. $5 a gallon, and if you think that's bad, just hang on. It's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. 22% of Americans commute 30 minutes or more to work. 22%. That's a lot of people paying a lot of money for fuel. So when they get home and they spend all this money in gasoline going back and forth to work, Now it's time to go to the grocery store, and they look at themselves, look in their wallet, look in their checkbook, and say how much money I got left, and they find out not a lot. So how are you going to buy food for your family? How is that going to be possible if this continues to go on and on and on? The national average for gasoline of gas was $4.76 last Friday. $4.76. That's terrible. When I was young, and I'm 80, when I was young, I paid 18, 20 cents a gallon. That's how far it has gone up over the last 8 decades. So the question you need to ask yourself is, why is that? Who are they going to believe? Are they going to believe Joe Biden when he says everybody else is at fault for this problem they see? Or are they going to believe their eyes? They're going to believe it when they go fill up their tank, when they pay that grocery bill, when they have to do things like that, or when they go to the store and they don't buy as many items that they would like because they can afford to buy them. And then it comes down to this baby formula, and that's a whole other dilemma in and of itself, that should have been seen by the administration weeks and months beforehand. And the FDA closed down that plant. They said there's got a contamination. Okay, fine. You got to do that, you got to do that. It doesn't take 5 months to figure out what's wrong with this plant. That's another great example of how ineffective our government really is. So who's going to believe? What Joe Biden's telling you, or are you going to believe what you see every day? Then he says, well, I'm going to help solve this gas problem. I'll go into the strategic reserves. Now, the strategic reserves were made simply to help us in a time of crisis, when we don't have any fuel at all, or very little. That's what it was made for. It wasn't made for this, because the gas prices that you see every day is a manufactured problem. It's got nothing to do with the reserves. It's a problem created by this administration when they chose to cut off all the oil supply coming to this country. And this transition they want to make won't work, because this type of transition is evolutionary. It takes time. It takes years to make this transition that you need to happen. This will never happen in 4 years. And if you're any reasonable human being, you'll look at this and say, you know what? He's right. We can't possibly have enough charging stations on it for you. It just won't work. All right? Inflation today is a tax on the American public. Joe Biden, well, this transition period we've got to go through, he says, this is something we have to do. We have to somehow make this transition. It's just going to be painful. It's going to be difficult for us, but we got to go through all of this. And my answer to that is no, we don't. No, we don't. I'm not opposed to electric cars. Once again, I'm not. But it's going to take decades before we get there. Not 4 years. 4 years will never happen in 4 years. I don't care how much he wants to penalize the American public. It's not going to happen in a period of 4 years. Biden admitted Americans don't really care why gas prices are high. They just want them to go down. So my question to you is, do you care that gas prices are high? Of course you do. How could you not care? I have a 2021 Nissan Titan truck. Beautiful automobile. For me to fill that truck up at the service station, if it's almost completely empty, will cost me over $110. Where before I could fill it up for $65, $70. Now it's $110. And if I'm in business, I can afford that. Brace yourselves for the more pain at the pump this summer. You think it's bad now? You haven't seen anything yet. 7 states are now at an average of $5 or higher per gallon, according to AAA data. Illinois is becoming the latest to join California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona, and Alaska. California's average on their fuel per gallon is now $6.19, and in some places in California, it's as high as $10 a gallon. I don't know why anybody on earth want to live in California, but you know, it's not pleasant for them. And I love California. I love the geography of the state. Beautiful state. I have the incredibly dysfunctional government, but I love the geography of the states. One of the prettiest states in the country. Retail gas prices are up 48 cents over the last month. Retail gas prices went up 48 cents in the last 12 months. Global oil prices also continue to tick upward. So let me close this by saying that all of this is probably not new to you. I'll get into other subjects later on in other podcasts that it may be new to you. But all of this you need to take in, because this is your country. You live here. Your family lives here. Your kids go to school here. Everything is here for you. And this government is eroding away our confidence in the American political system. We no longer trust the government anymore. Nobody does. I know I certainly don't. I don't trust anything the White House says because they're going to lie right through their teeth every single time. So I just ignore them altogether. So let me close by telling you I have 2 books out you may want to consider looking at. One is called The Rise and Fall of the American Dream. The other one is called Destiny's Challenge. They are in paperback books. You can find them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple. These books talk about the possibility that eventually this country is going to collapse. It's simply going to go away from all kinds of internal and external problems facing us. So I recommend you buy these books. They're very cheap. They're probably $15 on paperback. It'd be well worth your time. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll see you.